Good morning. So we'll start with the sixth session on the chapter Heredity and Evolution. In our previous class, we understood about dihybrid cross, that is how Mendel selected two characters of a pea plant. He studied about the shape and the color, that is he selected the round yellow seed and he selected wrinkled green seed, where we understood that round yellow is dominant and wrinkled green is recessive. So how these characters interchanged or they assorted among themselves and we got the offspring in the first generation as well as in the F2 generation, right? So based on the law, we come to a conclusion that Mendel's laws of inheritance. So Mendel has given some laws of inheritance based on the experiments what he has carried on monohybrid cross and dihybrid cross. So what are those? The first one, law of dominance, second one, law of segregation, and the third one, law of independent assortment. We'll just understand them briefly about these three laws and then we'll move on to the next session, that is sex determination of an unborn child. Law of dominance. We have applied actually all these three laws in monohybrid and dihybrid cross, right? Where we went on with one generation to another when we got the offspring, but we did not spell out or we did not term that as into a particular law it falls. Law of dominance tells us that in a pair of contrasting alleles, the one which gets expressed is called dominant allele. We all know that. So that we discussed in the beginning, right? In monohybrid cross, we took a pure breed of tall and tall, dwarf and dwarf. When we crossbreed them, we got T and T. That is, we got all tall plants. So what did we understand there? Always one allele get expressed and another is suppressed. The one which get expressed is called as a dominant allele. That is the first law. In a pair of contrasting alleles, the one which get expressed is called dominant allele, right? So this law is applicable for monohybrid as well as dihybrid. That is why we are getting the pure breed as the experiment, as the Mendel's experiment always starts we start with a homozygous breed, right? We discussed. So dominant gets expressed. Second, law of segregation. Now, law of segregation and law of dominance are one and the same. Usually in some of the books, you will find only two laws. That is, first law they gave it as law of segregation and second law is mentioned as law of independent assortment. Where did the law of dominance go? Law of dominance and when we talk about law of segregation, they go hand in hand, right? So either you can say three laws or you can say two laws where segregation explains about dominance only. Law of segregation, the dominant and recessive trait throughout or the dominant and recessive trait though remain together for long time but do not mix with each other and segregate at the time of gamete formation. What does it tell here? That dominant and recessive trait, though they remain together, but do not get mixed with each other. That means, what does that mean? I have a dominant tall trait, I have a recessive dwarf trait. They both are together, but still they will not mix each other and give a separate offspring. But what will happen? Dominant will be expressed, recessive will be suppressed, right? That means only one trait is expressed always. That is what we understood here. Though remain together for a long time but do not mix with each other, we understood, and segregate at the time of gamete formation. Segregation, what do you mean by they don't give half year and we get something. Only one part is expressed. That we understand in law of segregation. Last one, law of independent assortment. So before I read this, the meaning of law for the law of independent assortment, I would like to give you one example. So it was round yellow and wrinkle green, right? Now these two were there. So this round can mix with yellow also. This round can mix, this round can mix with green also. Round can mix with yellow also. That means I can even have RY, I can even have RY, right? Then next, this wrinkle can mix with round also. The wrinkle can mix with green also. That means there is no hard and fast rule. Round should be always with yellow. If it is round, it has to be yellow. Yes, they are dominant of course. But the offspring what I get, there is no compulsion that always I have to get round yellow. Not possible, no. I can also get round green, right? I can also get wrinkled green. I can also get wrinkled yellow. That means they get assorted by themselves. Now, we talk about assorted chocolates. Now, what do you mean by assorted chocolates? That means in chocolates, some are filled with raisins, some are filled with almonds, some are filled with cashews. It is not that the chocolate has to be, though the name is given assortment, the chocolate should not be only with raisins, right? We get assorted chocolates we have. Or sometimes a chocolate comes with assorted dry fruits. That means there are mixture of dry fruits in them. So law of independent assortment means a single trait can get mixed with each other. It is not that it has to only give round yellow, but when the gamete formation is there, they can be round yellow, they can be round green, wrinkled yellow and wrinkled green. That is what we saw in the last part of dihybrid. We got it in the ratio of 9:3:3:1. Correct? This was the ratio what we had got. Same thing here. Now let us understand this. The inheritance of character is always independent of inheritance of other character within the same individual. Because if I read this law, you will not understand the meaning. If I give you an example of what we have done in our previous class, that is in dihybrid, how it got assorted, intermixed with each other, you will come to know the meaning of this. The inheritance of one character. What is one character here? Round, shape. Is always independent of inheritance of other character within the same individual. That means it is independent of inheritance of other character within the same individual. What are the individuals we have chosen here? They get changed or assorted with each other. But again here, whatever the independent character, initially what was the independent character what we had chosen? Round and yellow. That will be large in number. Where in the last it get mixed, but still we get the recessive part less, that is very few, right? So this is about Mendel's law of inheritance. Mendel's law of inheritance are not given in your book. So I want you all to make a note of these three laws. This will be given at the end or in the middle of the video, so that you can pause it and please make a note of these three laws. We'll move on to the next segment here, that is sex determination of an unborn child. Determination of the sex of an offspring is known as sex determination. The definition of this. So when we talk about it is understanding what sex or what gender will the offspring will have. So what are the factors responsible for the sex determination? It is either environmental factors or genetic factors. Now when I talk about environmental factors, there are some animals where the environmental factor will decide the gender of the baby. Now for example, in some animals, what I can say, turtles, environment factor is responsible. How? It depends upon the temperature. The temperature factor decides whether the gender will be a girl or a boy, right? Once the eggs are laid, that temperature will decide. Suppose if it is a very hot temperature, if it's a very whatever it is, temperature decides the gender of the unborn baby. So it can be either girl or it can be boy. But when we talk about genetic factors which are responsible for sex determination, that is in some animals and human beings, so a gender of a baby is decided by a type of a chromosome which is called as a sex chromosome. We'll study in detail about that now. Human beings have 23 pairs of chromosomes, that is 46, nothing but 23 plus 23, right? Now, out of these 23 chromosomes, first let us understand how are they divided, where are these chromosomes exactly found, okay? So when I talk about somatic cells, we have discussed about somatic cells and germ cells in the beginning of the chapter while studying about the variation. Somatic cells are the cells which are, or they are body cells present in the body. So in somatic cells, there are 46 chromosomes, right? That is why, where we have 46 chromosomes, that is why they are diploid in nature. Now what is diploid? Diploid is something, we have 46 chromosomes. Now what will happen to this 46 chromosome? For example, in one line there are 23 chromosomes. And in another line there are again 23 chromosomes. This will add together and makes 46 chromosomes, right? That is why they are diploid in nature, represented by 2n. Now you need not break your head what is diploid, why it is 2n, right? Simple, you understand that somatic cells there are 46 chromosomes. That is why there are 46 chromosomes, so it is diploid in nature. Now how 46? 23 chromosomes and 23 chromosomes. Set of chromosomes, pair of chromosomes here. Let's only understand this much here. Next, we'll go to germ cells. Now germ cells are nothing but reproductive cells. Genetic, we understood this in the first part only. So germ cells are haploid in nature. We have in definition of different terms of heredity, I think haploid was one definition which I had given at the end. You can go through the definition once again. Germ cells are haploid in nature, that is we represent by N. Here 2N because 2 times the chromosome we are adding, 23 and 23. So it is N here. Now again here germ cells in male and germ cells in female. In male, the germ cells are nothing but sperms, and in female, the germ cells are nothing but ovum, that is egg. Now that means the male germ cells, that is sperms, will have 23 chromosomes, ovum will have 23 chromosomes. Now did you understand why they are haploid in nature? Because they only have one set of chromosomes. They do not have 46 which is broken down into 23 and 23. They only have one single, 23 only. And these have 23. But human beings should have 23 pair of chromosomes, right? That is put together 46 chromosomes they should have. But here it is only 23. Here also it is 23. Now what will happen? When these will fuse together, there forms a zygote. That is during mating process. These will fuse and there forms a zygote. Now this zygote will have 23 pair of chromosomes. That is 46 chromosomes. Now are you getting my point? If I again take you this in terms of heredity, DNA and all everything. If I consider father and mother and this is a baby, zygote what I have named it. That means a baby will have now 23 chromosomes I am receiving from father, 23 chromosomes I am receiving from mother. That means a baby, born baby will have 50% of the DNA or heredity characters from paternal and 50% of the characteristics from maternal. So from father contribution is 50% of the characters or the traits, and from the mother 50% of the characters or the traits, right? That means it is the combination. That is how the chromosomes 23 from here, 23 from here. Together it becomes 23 pair of chromosomes, that is 46 chromosomes. If this is clear, we can go to the further part. Now, these 23 pair of chromosomes, how are they divided further? Now here I gave you a picture of the 46 chromosomes, that is 23 pair. How are they actually mixing, or how is actually it is formed? How 23 pair is formed we understood here, right? Now let us understand the subdivision or the bifurcation of the 23 pair of chromosomes. 23 pair of chromosomes, in that it is again a bifurcation of 22 pair plus 1 pair. Now these 22 pairs are called as autosomes and 1 pair is called as a sex chromosome. Now 22 pairs are called as autosomes. Now what could be these autosomes? These autosomes could be your what alleles I'll tell now. It can be height, it can be color of your skin, it can be color of your hair, etc. Right? All hereditary factors. Only 1 pair is a sex chromosome. Right? So how do these chromosomes now fuse and how the sex of the baby is determined? Let us just see here. So this is male. That means a male can contribute. So during mating, a male can contribute. How many chromosomes a male has to give? True. He has to give 23. Female also have to give 23 chromosomes, right? So through egg, and this is via sperm. So male will contribute 22 plus XY. This XY is a sex chromosome here. Similarly, female will give XX plus 22. That means he is giving 22 autosomes, all the hereditary factors, plus 1 pair of sex chromosome. Female, all the hereditary factors, plus 1 pair of sex chromosome, right? So let us understand in the first instant, male has given 22 chromosome plus 1 pair of this chromosome have to be given. So he has given X, correct? So this became now 23. This is nothing but I'll write 1. Now what female has to give? Now she has to give again same thing, 22 plus, she doesn't have a choice. She has both the X chromosome only. What did we notice here? Male have mismatched pair of chromosome, wherein females have matched pair of chromosomes, right? Now 22 plus X from him, 22 plus X from her. So we got here total 23 and 23. Now the baby born, autosomes are anyways there, but the baby born is with the 22 plus XY, that is 1, 23, sorry, XX, X and X. The baby is born with a perfect pair of chromosome, right? X and X. So it is a girl child. Yes? Now, this is the first case. Now in second case, what will happen? No, this is the first case. Now second case, what can happen? So a male, that is father, will give 22 autosomes plus Y chromosome, that is 1. Now what female has to do? Female has all some matched pair of chromosome only. So she will also donate 22 plus X only 1. That means what is the combination here now? The combination is 22 plus XY. Is it matched? No, it is a mismatched pair of chromosome. So the girl born is, the child born is boy. That means whenever a child is born with a matched pair of chromosome or the perfect chromosomes, what we say, a child born will be a girl child. Whenever a child is born with a imperfect pair of chromosomes, it's not an imperfect pair, you can say mismatched pair of chromosome, the child born is boy. But in our society, what do all do? Mother is held responsible for giving birth to a girl child, right? But actually, father is responsible for the birth or of a gender of a child, because he is the type of chromosome what he is bearing and what he is giving, that decides the gender of the child. So a proper education and proper guidance or knowledge should be provided to everybody. So this is the sex determination of an unborn child. A very important one. You can give it in a small figure or a pictorial form if it is asked in exams, right? So In today's class, we understood about Mendel's law of inheritance. Then we understood about what is sex determination, how the sex determination is done in an unborn child. So when a girl child is born, so it's a perfect pair of chromosome, and when a boy child is born with an imperfect pair of chromosomes. And we understood about somatic cells, germ cells. So out of 23 pair of chromosomes, 22 are autosomes and 1 is a sex chromosome. A very interesting one. And any doubt in this, you can call on the same day of the video set. One thing I would like to tell you, the chapter heredity is very simple, interesting, but initially you might find it a bit complex to understand few things. So I want you all to go through the videos again and again to understand the concept better. For a first instant of a one go, you might not understand it, but when you watch the same video twice, thrice, you will understand what is the concept. It's a very simple and interesting chapter, and yet we have only touched a little part of heredity here. We haven't gone in depth with heredity, right? So any doubt, you can call on the same day of the video set. Thank you.